I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Business Renovator. Today I have a couple of wonderful individuals. We're going to have a conversation in and around content, compelling content, how to leverage it, and a few other tips and tricks around getting the word out, getting known, and moving on. So if you're watching us live today, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And if you're watching us on a replay, we appreciate that as well. Just let us know where you're watching in from. And if you would be so kind to do hashtag replay and let us know your thoughts, your comments. If you have a question you want answered, fire it our way. Even if we're not here live, we'll follow the post and get back to you as fast as possible. If you wouldn't mind sharing this out to your community and the YouTube channel that we have set up, if you would please subscribe to that. I would appreciate that greatly. It just gets the word out to more people. And last I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to have a shameless plug for what we do here. And watch this short video. Look at that. One of my guests popped in, and the other one's popping in right now as well. Hello, good morning, and welcome. Michael, Nikki, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Michael first.
Okay, sure thing. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Roach. I'm a digital marketing strategist and consultant. What I do is work with businesses and nonprofits and help them find creative ways to market themselves so that they can create more sales opportunities and delight customers.
Terrific. Thanks for that, Michael, and welcome to the Business Renovator.
Thank you.
Good. Well, it's very simple. I'm a math geek, but I'm also a business person as well. Help businesses get all the math worked out and what it's there. One of the biggest pieces of media that went out this week was a hand with a gigantic hissing cockroach on it that is as big as the hand. It's so gross. And my statement was, if I can teach somebody to sell $10,000 of these a month, I'm sure I can help you do your math.
Wow. That's quite the introduction.
It was quite the introduction. And that was one of the pieces that everybody's like, I can't believe you put that out there, because nobody wants to look at a bug. But look, if we can sell that, I'm sure we can sell your stuff too.
Well, that's a good way to start the show. Compelling, interrupting, and engaging, right? It got people's attention. That's the key, right? We don't want to be boring.
Right. Don't be boring. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And just for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the host of The Business Renovator. I go by Coach Phil. It's easier than Phil Jilks for most people. I'm excited that you guys have been able to fit this in today. We're going to be here for about an hour. We're going to share best practices and how to sell cockroaches or whatever, right?
And Michael has all of these tools that we all, it's hard for us to not want to just jump on and hug you right now, Michael.
So I'm happy to really be here and chat with both of you today.
Yeah, and with the way technology is advancing, how do we get to stand out? I heard we have 17 seconds worth of time to catch somebody's ear. It's probably even less than that right now. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, TikTok has given us a whole nother world. Remember when you thought, wow, how can I make content in Twitter size?
Yeah.
right? Remember when everyone was sure that like how could Twitter work?
144 characters.
Right. You can't do anything in that.
No.
Well, it's still here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think too, like, yeah, social media has definitely retrained us, maybe programmed us in a way to think in small slices of content, chaining, for example, like you mentioned, the tweets, short sentences, words that we can put together, threads with Twitter, stories, thinking of like panels that we can chain together to tell a story. So in a lot of ways, people have been thinking about movies and long, types of content, but we're being trained now and programmed, and just kind of rethinking about like these smaller pieces that are chained together to tell a story.
It's interesting you bring that up. What goes through my mind, I'm going to take us off of Twitter, but that's okay because we're going to circle back and talk about whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Talk about TikTok. When my early days of exploring it and getting and consuming content, there's a TV show called Undercover Boss.
Oh,
There,
right. Yeah.
there was an episode on TikTok, and I watched all of the short 4-minute segments of the whole episode. Duh, it works. I'm seeing more and more people, notable people that have got more awareness in the marketplace around the globe showing up in places like TikTok than any other place. I bumped into a video where Gary Vee was talking about we need to be on LinkedIn and TikTok because the people on TikTok are going to mature and be on LinkedIn. That's what he says. I'm thinking that it's going to be some of the people on LinkedIn are going to get savvy and participate on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
addicted.
But again, TikTok has given us the fact that we want to be aroused by content. We want to be intimate and just find amazement. And it's a smorgasbord, right? There's everything on TikTok. And I think that's one of the things that people have really given us, that Netflix gave us, right, is that ability to gorge on content. Michael mentioned my favorite word, threads, right? That Michael, I don't think anybody understands threads. Can you give us your description of how you talk about threads?
Sure. So I like to think of threads like that chain of emails that someone might get on, and sometimes they don't know how to get off of it. But actually, in a positive way, threads are a way on Twitter to start a tweet and then continue that tweet and chain those tweets together to either tell a story, provide a list of tools or resources. You might even, give your experience on how you started a business. And it's just a nice way to, or even to tell ways that are aspects of a story or reporting of a story. I find that, yes, a lot of marketers are using it, startups are using Twitter threads, numbers of tweets, chained together, but they're also using, journalists are also using Twitter threads as well.
Yeah.
Well, there's something I had never thought of. Twitter threads.
I told you, Michael knows so much stuff.
Michael knows. Good thing we got him on the show.
Also, the other thing I wanted to mention too about the threads too is, they're linkable. So you can create, threads of content, or you can, let's say, write a story, put it in a series of tweets, and then share just the link to that tweet, almost like a blog in a way.
I don't think I've ever experienced that, or if I did, unaware.
But it's kind of storyboarding. I mean, we use it differently in other forms of media. I mean, how many ways do you use that thought process in marketing?
Right.
I mean, Michael, you must use it a million different ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Certainly with just individual posts when I'm working with clients, working on some of their social media content, just text, but also with imagery. Even having clients come up with videos or video commercials to have them tell a story. There has to be like a starting point and an ending point, but what's in the middle? What are the things that you're going to tell people to keep them interested in between so that they get to the end? So yeah, storyboarding is a very effective way to kind of think about, content and keeping people's interest.
Phil, I wrote something down because I've seen your intro a few times now.
Yeah. Just a few.
A few times. What I wrote down was, right, how much is it worth to double your income? I feel like that's the start of a whole thread, right?
Yeah.
That's the start of a conversation. Do you talk about that a lot?
Yeah.
And how do you talk about it?
How do I talk about? Well, I guess maybe social media wise, could amp it up there. But when I'm individually speaking to somebody, absolutely, I do. I go through an actual formula. You could call it the way to wealth, the 5 ways, 5-step profit formula. Help people walk through that, and it gives them not just the emotional. What if you could do all this? It gives them an opportunity to see if they were to make small incremental improvements in things like how many customers do they have, how many leads do they get, and how many do they convert. Often when I talk to somebody, when I ask them how many leads they have, they say, well, we had per month. I say, well, we had 50 leads. Well, how many of those turned into customers? Well, they all did. That's not a lead. That's a customer. So if we can get them to look at the number of people that they get eyeballs on, ears or hearing, or just hearing the message, like what Michael's talking about, this is new to me, that the connections of threads with Twitter, that's the mechanics behind it. If we can get more eyeballs and earballs on that kind of stuff, then the conversion rate would be much higher. So what we work with in terms of answering that question, Mickey, is to make the small incremental improvements. Like if we were to get them to understand that generating 1,000 to 10,000 leads and they're getting 50 customers, then we can work on increasing their conversion rate. And what is it? Is it the marketing message? Is it the image? Is it a thread thing that we're talking about today? What is the thing that we could help them identify that would elevate their conversion rate so now that they can increase it by 10, 20, 30%? And if you do that down the list of this formula, at the end of it, we made incremental improvements of about 10% on a regular basis, say monthly basis, over the course of a year, 12 months, that's the 62.5% increase in profit. Yes, profit. So what would you do if you had a 62.5% increase in profit? Who would you hire? What would you expand? You have way more choices when you have cash flow. You can do it without the cash because you can bootstrap yourself, but it's a slower and a more arduous process. So great question. There is a formula to it. A formula to success is what I call it. That's why I talk to people about that quite a bit. And even if you're I don't mean just disrespecting, because I think selling is great. I think all entrepreneurs are sellers. But if you look at the sales process, how many connections have you had? How many conversations have you had? And how many conversions have you had? And how many closings have you had? And if you increase those with the same formula, put those same kind of small incremental improvements to it, the sales can double, triple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's not that hard to do. When you use up the proper lever, because one of the things we talk about is leveraging. So if we can leverage that, then you get more impact. You serve more people. You're more valuable to the world. And you get to work with the people you love to work with, versus working with the people you have to work with because you're doing it on a different philosophy on scarcity versus abundance. Well, that was a long-winded answer to your question. Great question.
Well, but it really is, like I hear it all the time, but today I was like, that's a big question. that you spend a lot of time with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Michael, you must have a question like that you use all the time.
Yes, it's kind of similar to what Phil was just talking about. I kind of give business owners the thought or the vision of, you know, what would it look like if you had, you know, a few extra hours in your week?
Yeah.
What would you do at that time? Would you go for coffee? Would you spend time with your time with your family? Would you get extra sleep? You know, aren't you tired? You would probably get extra sleep, right? So I try to talk about the thing that the result, the outcome they're going to get first, a lot of the times, and then I'll talk about the way they're going to get there. Because if I talk about the way they're going to get there, they're going to be so inundated, like, oh, it's content strategy, social media, Instagram stories, Instagram reels, you know, Twitter threads. Their head is spinning, right?
Yeah.
So if I say, if you had 5 hours of extra time or 7 hours, you know, more time in your schedule, what would you do with it? Would you be, you know, and I'll talk about those things and help them visualize it, and then talk about maybe some of the ways that I can help them get there.
You're right on there, Michael. It's the same kind of thing I do. I'm not all about money because money's only part of the solution. It does give you some freedom and leverage to do other things. However, getting their life back. There was a post that I read, an article, and it really speak to what you're just talking about here. And that is, there was a couple, and the wife was afraid that her husband was having an affair, had a mistress, but not the mistress you think. The mistress she was talking about was the business. They had this business, and it was consuming his attention. She was feeling left out. So what we do with like what Michael's talking about, what I was talking about earlier, is to help get rid of the mistresses so that the business isn't running them. They're running the business. It gives them the freedom. Like, what would you do if you had 7 hours like Michael's talking about? Would you, you could go on a date with your wife instead of being behind the desk or in the plants or wherever, whatever you're doing. Find a way to make it happen because it is doable. It's just we shift our thinking a little bit like a kaleidoscope. If you turn it a little bit, you see a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Oh, also, Phil, I love what you did there too. How you talked about the thing without talking about the thing.
Right.
You know, like you said, having an affair, but it's not with who you think it is. So that's like immediate curiosity. It makes you tune in, makes you lean forward and listen. Like, okay, what's next? You know?
Yeah.
And one of the themes today is about leverage. I did not write that. I heard it. I'm always listening for things that are relevant that could help story selling happen and giving anecdotal evidence to help people understand. Like nobody wakes up in the middle of the night or any time of the day and goes, oh, I need a business coach. Well, maybe there's a few percent to do, but I don't think it's very many. But they do wake up and go, man, I miss my wife. Oh, man, I want my husband back. Or I would love to get that, whatever it is, right? Oh, I'm sick and tired of working so long. That's what they want to get rid of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
Leverage is one of the keys, and social media can help you do that. And if you have people that like Michael that really know what they're doing with it, then that makes it even easier, frees up your time to do other stuff, other things that you're good at. Sarah Blakely, you've heard of her, right?
Mm-hmm.
When she started, she's a CEO founder of Spanx. For those who don't know,
Who has sold? Who has sold?
Yes, but she's still involved, right?
Yes, but she's sold.
And she built it to $1 billion entity before she sold it, and started off with $5,000 in her living room, and did everything she needed to do. And I've got a video that's going to support this from another friend of mine. He's not going to talk about her, but in terms of getting going and getting started, I have a video to demonstrate that. But she said, you do all the stuff you need to do until you can hire the people that are better at it than you. So she actually hired a CEO. Well, and then she was really good at the sales side. So she was the executive of sales and used her her derriere to promote the product that she was manufacturing. It was the best sales tool that she ever had. She knew her strengths and she played to them. As soon as she could afford to have somebody take over and do the stuff she's not good at, that's one way to leverage. Now, I know that's not social media, but leverage is everywhere. And if we can use a lever to make things happen, then you can move to where you're trying to get to quickly. And I think having a coach or an expert in social media is one of those entities that it's not an expense, it's an investment.
Well, I think it's a partnership. You know,
Yeah.
when I look at my love affair with social media, or well, just being able to live in a time where we get to have a direct conversation with not just the people that we love, the people that we love online. Like, you know, I can post something on Sarah's site and she sometimes can respond direct to me. So I can suddenly now have access to people who are amazing, who are also interested in my work, but they have a way to see it. Like, social media has so many opportunities that are easy to have a love affair with.
Yeah.
That they're not just a leverage, but they are a way to have just more deliciousness in your business, in connecting with other businesses, and learning stuff. I mean, you look at how much stuff you guys have learned on social media.
Yes, like
Today's topic.
well, but even in May, I'm thinking way back in May of 2020, I just started embarking on the Business Renovator, and thank goodness that Facebook keeps cycling things through, because it reminded me how bad I was at the beginning, and the things you learn along the way. And I did a talk on Friday, which is where I really wanted to show this video I'm going to share today, but I think it's still relevant today. And the topic last week was every master was once a disaster. You can't get better by sitting still. You only get better by daring to step out into that space, which is a great. I'm going to play this video right now because it's a great segment.
Yes. And that line is your gift to me.
I love that. I love that.
I wrote it down.
Let me see if you guys can see this. You guys can see that. Let's get it as big as I can. So this is a friend of mine, Mike Wolf. I met him a couple of times. He's an interesting character, but I got to spend some time with him in Portugal. He's also Canadian, out of Calgary, but listen to what he has to say. Hopefully this comes through. Let me know, guys, if it does. Here we go. Oh, no, the wrong play button.
Get on it immediately and don't give yourself any lag time, because in that time, that's when we talk ourselves out of things. A really good example is this video you're watching now. Well, not that many years ago, I was terrified to make a video. And it would have been very, very easy for me to say, oh, well, starting January 1, I'm going to start doing videos. And I guarantee you I would have talked myself out of it. January 1 would have come and gone. I would have put another date to it, and it would have never happened. So I just basically shot my first video. A lot of my old videos are still out there in cyberspace, and I'm actually kind of embarrassed about them. But I'm also very proud of them, too, because it got me where I am now. If I hadn't have done that first video, that was very, not only embarrassing, it was very difficult. I felt like I was sweating and stuttering. I would not be able to get in front of a camera today.
Let's get rid of him now. That's all I wanted. Oh, look at that. Get on it. He's telling us.
Lag time. In that time, that's when we talk ourselves out of things.
Exactly. Bring you guys back. So I wanted to bring that up was get started, get going. Don't matter how bad you think you're going to be. Don't talk yourself out of things. We all do that, myself included. That's one of the things I work on with the people I serve, is to change their perception of who they are and help them elevate themselves, get to another level that they may not even dare to think about. So thank you, Michael Wolf, for that plug.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
But isn't this show kind of your massive change anyway?
How do you mean?
Meaning that, like, you made a choice to say you were already at the top of your field. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. You already had enough skills. It's not like you were short on clients. That you had an internal system that you built a long time. Yet you were still willing to creatively grow and put yourself out there and do something really different.
Yep. And like Michael was saying at the beginning, I'm almost embarrassed to look back at some of the ones I've done. But what I've learned along that way and the people I've got to meet has been the best gift out of it. I've had some people say, you monetize your live stream? And the reality is not directly. I have not. I've not had somebody say, hey, I saw your show, I want to hire you. That's never hired. That hasn't happened. But it's given me this psychic reward that I need to exist for me. And that's to get to hang out with people like you, where we have these great conversations, Michael and Mickey and others. I've learned a lot from everybody else. And the feedback I get from, well, just this past weekend, I was in my out and about in my own neck of the woods, and I went to a marketplace I hadn't been to for, I don't know, a couple of years. Ran into some people I know, they're vendors in this place. And they said, yeah, I see you on social media. I seen your show. You're everywhere. So social media works when you're not even working. I mean, there could be people watching previous episodes that I don't even know. I didn't even know these guys were watching. I know we're connected in social media, but are they paying attention to what I'm doing? I don't know. Now I know.
Yeah.
They are, right?
Yeah. You just never know how people are going to find you by Google search, by, find you on LinkedIn, or, somebody might like something and it'll appear at that person's feed in LinkedIn. So there's a lot of ways that you can be found, and that's why we have to put content out there. I think it requires a lot of courage and bravery to turn the camera on, say something, organize your thoughts and your fears, and put a message out there, no matter how discombobulated it is.
Oh,
and right. And at the end will be a sweaty mess, but you did it. Once you're on the other side, you can look back and say that you did it, and then you can use that as a learning for going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And going to that, I think that it's really helpful. I'll use your example again, Phil, right? Is when you're with other people that are pretty amazing, it's easy to show up. It's easy to want to be here, right? That it was like, I looked forward to getting to hang out with both of you, but I was really excited to talk to Michael today because he has so much knowledge that is available that everybody's hungry for. But right, it's being around people that are very compelling makes you feel better.
And if it wasn't for social media, I would not have met either one of you, probably, because geographically, we're far, far away from each other.
Yeah.
Right.
You're in Canada,
Western Canada, not just north of you. I'm way west of you guys.
Now that meant something, and I don't know what that like only a Canadian understood that last sentence.
What, way west?
What does that mean to me?
Well, so a lot of people say, well, you're in Canada. Yes, Canada is quite a big geographical
It's massive.
Canada, right?
Yes.
So for me to show up and have a cup of coffee with either one of you, that's like a 4 or 5 hour flight to get to you guys from where I'm at. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm in Toronto, I'll drive down a couple hours later, I'm there. Like, 8 hours. It would take me 3 days to drive to the eastern side of the US. Maybe longer.
So
this
does that mean it's cold there, or does that mean it's
no.
far, or
only in the winter, when it's cold in the winter where you are too. It's just a distance, that's all.
Distance? Yes.
This just squishes everything makes the globe so much smaller. That's all I meant.
Right.
It's that people think of Canada, and I'm going to pick on the Americans because I've had that experience. Yeah, do you know Larry? You know my friend Larry? Yeah, no, I don't. We're a big place. Our population compared to the U.S. is only about the size of California, but we're a larger landmass than the U.S. We're spread out.
You guys are big.
Mm-hmm.
We are.
So
it's just making the globe smaller. Globe, not just North America, because some of my guests have been from us down under Australia and the UK and places like that.
Michael, where do you live?
I'm in upstate New York, in Albany area.
Okay. And
Yeah.
yes, and I'm right in the center, top square of the United States. I'm in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So most people don't, they're sure that there's going to be a cow behind me.
Well, we have that up here too. Matter of fact, what just ended was the Calgary Stampede, the largest outdoor show in North America,
Right.
maybe in the world, actually.
But we do have a guest name here on our screen that's no one we know.
Oh, no, we know.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
no.
Yes, I know Denise.
Yeah, Denise was introduced to me speaking about how this works by Michael, and Denise is going to be on my on the Business Renovator later in August.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, she's got a book, and we're going to help talk about her book. I've had a great visit with her, thanks to Michael, and looking forward to having her as a guest.
Was that a preview?
Oh,
Sneak peek. Right.
yes, it was like a teaser.
Wow. Like I said, you're learning.
I am getting better, and
You're learning.
I even it's actually where I haven't really mastered it is when I do the shows by myself and I don't have a guest and I start trying to move things around. That's but one of the benefits of that was when I was talking to a friend of mine in Massachusetts about how I missed putting the Mike Wolf video on my show last week because it supported a theme I was going on. Every master is once a disaster. It's not mine. It's T. Harv Ekers, but I leveraged it. It's brilliant. I thought, man, I screwed up, and I was beating myself up. My buddy in Massachusetts said, no, what you do is on your next show, you talk about how you messed up and fooled up and screwed up and use this as an example. I went, oh, yes, and what I like about that, and I put it into today's show. Thank you for letting me plug it in because I think it's relevant for a couple of reasons. One, he was on TikTok. He is evidence that talked about what Michael said. Get out there, just do it. Don't worry about this. It's not going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And you know what? None of my shows have been technically perfect, but they've been brilliantly perfect because of the people and the conversations and the giggles and the seriousness of some of the topics we share. So I don't care if I mess up as much as more. What's most important to me is we talking about things that are relevant to help somebody. And the feedback I've had has proven to me over and over is that what you guys today are sharing and what previous guests have shared has had an impact on certain people. So that's really all I do the show. Plus, I get to talk to cool people like you guys.
Well,
So
we're glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. I can't speak for Michael, but I'm glad to be here.
So we've talked Twitter and TikTok. So that's TT. Did you know that? I just figured that out. And then getting over your fear and your angst, whether it's Twitter or so I have angst over TikTok. So I'm here live on a video, yet I won't pull the button to go and do a TikTok video. Yet I love the content because I learned a lot of stuff. I realized Mike Wolf was there and other people. What would you say to people that are in the same state of mind as me on social media, guys, gals?
Well, about TikTok specifically,
anything, but
I'm with Gary Vee on LinkedIn. I think that LinkedIn has a lot of pieces to it that are adding up right. Michael will have probably more statistics than I do, but I think that TikTok has given itself, not TikTok, but LinkedIn has given itself some formats that can really make it massive. It's already massive, but it's really massive. They have the most jobs on them than any other the job sites, but they also have, they bought Lynda, which was the largest educational company ever. So they really are posed to come in and surround all of us as business owners in lots of content and lots of growth and being on there. There used to be a time where you would email someone on LinkedIn and you would hear from them 20 to 40 months later when they checked their LinkedIn. Right? I think that the LinkedIn email was like the saddest mortuary of desire to connect.
Yeah, that's probably quite accurate.
Right. That people just ignored anything that came in on LinkedIn, and now people are connecting.
Now, it's big on LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys found this or not. There's two streams of consciousness. One is that you talked about, really started out as a job site. If you show up with your message as an entrepreneur, business owner with that kind of message, it goes on deaf ears and eyes. The other path is to have yourself show up as an entrepreneur, a business provider, a solution provider business. So the narrative that we have needs to be different. There's two different paths. Both are good, but depending what your end result is, right?
Right. Michael, what are you using LinkedIn for?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm using LinkedIn for a few different things, to make connections with people. It's a great way for me to do some prospecting. I use Sales Navigator to learn about who are in certain types of jobs, people that have various titles, people that are in boards on boards, part of companies. And that helps me understand who I need to strategically make a connection with, and not just send out blanket, connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also use it to kind of stay on top of what's going on in my network when people are sharing things like events or topics or inspirational posts, even just to see what they're liking and sharing. And it helps bring that to my to the forefront of my radar, so I know what's going on. So I use it in a lot of different ways.
Do you use the blog at all on LinkedIn?
I have in the past. I have tried, experimented with taking some of blog content and then publishing it on LinkedIn, and using that as a way to drive traffic back to the website. So I think that can be effective. Without a strategy, of course, it's hard to keep up with that type of publishing cadence. But I think it can be very effective, the publishing on LinkedIn. And of course, just it doesn't have to be long form. It can be short posts that talk about something, or sharing of a video as well.
My writing style is very much like my personality, where it's very informal. And what I have enjoyed about that platform is there's a lot of formal voices there. So having an informal voice, I get a lot of conversation around, because, I have a very interesting past, and that's not a bait there, but I just have, I've done a lot of things. And so when I do it in that format, in a place that's very formal, people seeing something that's informal feels very different.
Yeah. I was just trying to recall an email that popped up. He's out of the Netherlands, and he's very knowledgeable in the LinkedIn space. Andy Van Who. I'm sorry, Andy. I'm messing up your name. I'll keep looking for it while we're talking. But he sent actually, it wasn't an email. It was a LinkedIn post. What he's been able to test, prove, and find out what's the best practices on LinkedIn. So I'll add it to the show notes if I don't get it onto here today. I'll add it to the YouTube channel with additional content and information. I don't know how to do that on the other places yet.
Yeah, I was going to say too, like sometimes with people, we use LinkedIn, right? And we're like, sometimes when people say, I don't know how to do something, and we're like, you don't know how to do it? Maybe that's what we might think from time to time, because we're so used to it. We're on the inside looking out. But I think sometimes, at least for me, I have to realize that sometimes people aren't using LinkedIn on a daily basis. They haven't checked their inbox in 20 or 40 months, right? So those folks that are uncomfortable, don't know where to start, if they're listening to this show, what they need to do is consume. Just read, just skim, just get an understanding of what's out there. You might see one post and say, oh, I'll just copy that. No, you can't just copy that, because the next post that you see is going to inform you of another style of writing or the
Mhm.
way that somebody posts, or maybe they're using a poll, LinkedIn poll. So you have to consume it on, some long-term basis, not too long, forever, but enough so that you can get a gist of what's out there. It's kind of like what Gary Vee was saying at one point. He said, learn TikTok. I don't care what you do. Use it like a TV and just consume. Spend
Right.
8 hours or whatever, consume it, and then you'll understand the mechanics of it, and then take that and then start creating content yourself. So,
Well, I'm doing step one. I'm consuming the crap out of it. And actually, I've bought stuff, so it works.
right.
Well, and it's quick, right? I mean, it's enthralling,
Yeah.
and it's got a lot of movement to it, and each one is different. And our content, the content that we are liking, that the people around us are liking, is becoming more and more creatively reaching, right? I mean, it's the future timing of social media. This is my belief, and that my belief is that we are becoming more and more creative in how we talk about a concept, how we present a concept, and how we'd like to consume it. And yeah.
Sorry about that. I talked over you. My apologies.
Mm.
I found what I was looking for. So I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I'm going to share that screen. Let's just get the controls back. So not this good-looking guy, but this good-looking guy, Andy Foote, reassuringly expensive LinkedIn content strategist. But he's very knowledgeable, and he had a post in here the other day. I haven't found the exact post, but if you want to find out how to use LinkedIn in particularly, he's an expert in that field. This is his LinkedIn site that we're looking at. I can't find the exact one because it's probably, it was last week, so it's here somewhere, but wherever it is. Why you need to a branded hashtag? Oh, look at
Yes.
that. So a wealth of knowledge, and here he is now. How do we do? Yeah, so if you go look for Andy Foote, the way he spells his name there, you'll find him. So hopefully that helps you guys in my panel, and also anybody who's watching this later. But he's a wealth of knowledge. I got introduced to him by my LinkedIn coach. I belong to a group coaching organization, and Bryn Tillman is the CEO. She's where I heard about him first off.
That's awesome. I put it in my notes. I always leave this hour with so many notes. Like, I'm already here. Like, I have that many.
So here's a tip for you, people that are taking notes. Of course, I don't have one in front of me that I can demonstrate, but if you don't have multiple colored pens and pencils and things around you like I do, see, look at that.
Yeah.
You can buy that old. I'm looking around because I usually have one on my desktop, but I don't particularly see it. But you can get one with a blue, green, red, and black. And if you want to take your notes to another level, write in color. And don't worry, just the same way you're doing, but accentuate it, because it'll get it into your cranium much better, especially as we become older. I think at age 7 or 8, we start to close up the ability to absorb things quickly. So by adding color, music, and kinesthetics to it, it makes it happen. So just by adding multiple colors in your writing is a good idea.
Can I add something, Phil?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I love how you brought that up in the context of you bringing that up. Art journaling, if you can add an artistic element to your notes, whether it's stars too, arrows, if you can shade them in or even make like graffiti style letters.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, they do something to, I mean, yes, writing things down in notes help, right, in our journal. But when you start adding that touch of creativity to in the color and all those components, maybe contrast and shading things and drawing a face, even it does
Yes.
something, and it increases our memorability.
It absolutely does.
If that's even a word. But yes, it helps us remember things, and it helps us tie connections in where we might have forgotten it.
And,
So,
and well, I'm going to add to that too, and is the getting a little bit more logical page number. If you're doing it in a book, put page numbers on it and leave a section in the back of your book where you're taking it to put in the page numbers that were relevant. Like if we were talking about, the time we were on the Business Renovator and we had Michael and Mickey and we talked about social media and leverage, you might put a little indexing over there. It's on page 33 so that you can look at the index and quickly go find it. That was a Jim Rohnism.
Yes. But what I like about that is, right, both of those things are just things that our viewers can just go, oh, let me take one tip with me.
Yeah.
Let me take that one tip, or even just that simple explanation of how to create an index in your notebook. I'll be interested to see how many people comment on that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
People understand it, but they don't actually understand how to do it. And you just gave them in like 3 sentences how to actually complete the task.
Yeah, and
So,
they don't have to even remember Giorgio Lazaroff, who is the person who actually has helped a lot of people like learn complicated languages in 4 weeks to a point where they could speak and write it in 4 weeks. And he used things like what Michael's talking about: music, kinesthetics, and color. So some of those things, as often as I can with my clients, I do them. They're I'm not. That's kind of hokey. Yeah, it is. But do you want to remember this easily, or do you want to struggle with it? So they give it a go, and once they've tried it, they go, "This really works."
Michael, are you a doodler? I mean, when you go to Art Journal, are you drawing? What are you doing?
Yes, I am a doodler. Yeah. So even when I don't expect it, sometimes there are some graphic elements in my journal that come about, and it does help me remember things. But yeah, I am an illustrator as well to what I do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you. I keep watching your eyes look down, and I keep waiting for you to show something. Like I'm like, are you going to share your notes? Like, are you going to share them?
Well, these notes are a little bit wonky, but I can just do a quick. It's not a lot of graphics today, but
right.
A little fun.
But it's not linear.
It's definitely not linear.
That's a long paper.
Yes, I love this paper, 11 by 17.
Right. So
sorry,
you
8.5
11 by 17 user.
8.5 by 11. 17.
14.
Yeah.
8. So what is it? 8.5 by what?
This is
8.5 by.
It's legal, right? 14?
Legal. This is legal. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that 14?
14. Yeah. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you like the extra paper space.
And he goes sideways.
And he goes sideways.
And right. I do have my extra wide paper, 11 by 17 as well.
That's my favorite.
That I use for creating like plans and blueprints for content.
Right.
There's a little bit of color to take it from monochrome.
Oh, and that's yours today.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys, this right here explains to you why I think math is gorgeous, right? Mm-hmm. Mine is using both sides of the page. You can rip it out. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm with 2 creative people.
We're all creative in our own way. The modality is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the question that I still have, which is where I started it, which was something you said, was levers build leverage. Our topic today is leverage. Where do you want to go with it, Phil?
Well, where do I want to go with leverage? I want to point out, I guess, for whoever's watching, that it doesn't have to be hard. Like to pick up something that's heavy without some kind of resource is hard. And it doesn't have to be hard. If you can use a tool, a resource, a person, an app, whatever it might be, use it. Don't success doesn't have to be hard. The example, it's not about leverage so much, but it's about the fly that flies around our home and finds a window, and it's trying to exit because it's tired of visiting in our home. It's ate all our food maybe, and it's just hungry and wants to get going, and it's found the window, and then the light's there, and it sees the possibilities, but there's a thing in the way called a piece of glass, and they buzz around and smash themselves on it, smash themselves on it, and they either get smart and find a way, but most don't. You find them, you're picking them off the windowsill because they've exhausted themselves, they've passed away, and you throw them away. And they're trying to do it the hard way, whereas if they just change what they're looking at and find another option, they could move towards it. So that's not necessarily leveraging, but it doesn't have to be hard. You don't want to be like that fly bashing into the window endlessly. The harder I try, the easier it gets. It's not true. If we get into a flow of creative state of mind, things are easier that way, aren't they? Like where do you get some of your best ideas, and where can you leverage those? Come on, it's okay. You can tell us. For me, it's the shower.
I get them walking.
Yeah, walking's a great one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pacing the floor sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Walking, pacing, quiet time. Some of the people that came way before us talk about that aspect, is to actually discipline yourself to take time out and think. Have that thinking quiet time, no radio, no internet, no cell phone, because back then they didn't have any of those distractions. They had horse and buggies. This is how far back I'm thinking of some of the experts that have written this kind of content. And it was to find some time to quiet ourselves down, to listen to our creative self and be tapped into whatever it is you tap into. And trust that even though you have a problem, the solution's on its way. You just don't know what it is yet. This thing we have called a cell phone was somebody's idea that came out of that space. Penicillin, all sorts of things come out of that space. Out of adversity, people slow down enough to think about what's the problem we have that we don't want, and what's the solution we want that we can't find. And we quiet down enough, we can tap into that. Get inspired ideas to have a panel with Mickey. Like I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't even know you guys. And then Mickey and I connect on LinkedIn, of all places. We're talking about that today. And we had a 20-minute conversation planned, and we talked for almost 2 hours the first time. And out of that came this panel on Mondays. So you just never know.
You said something interesting there, Phil. You said a lot of interesting things. When you said that person that came up with the phone and penicillin, it's the thing that came to mind was, while the rest of the world is going about its business, that person, that inventor, they almost stopped time and said, all right, world, you do what you're going to do, and I'm going to focus on writing this thing, creating this thing, making this new innovation. And I think that's kind of the thing that business owners, entrepreneurs need to do as well. They need to let the world continue doing other things, making content, but they need to make their own content and let the world go by, and not completely go by, but start creating these things. Spend time on the business, whether it's creating blogs, videos, quizzes, webinars, ebooks, some pieces of content that they can leverage. I'll try to use that word again. And then once that piece of content is done, unleash it to the world, and then you can kind of continue that journey.
Yeah, what I like about what you're talking about there is kind of I talked about last Friday, and I was inspired by some people I follow on Twitter. Isn't that funny? Arlene Dickinson is a venture capitalist, a Canadian one. She's on a show here in Canada called The Dragon's Den, and a couple of those dragons are on the Shark Tank as well. But what she talked about was there's conversation right now on social media and everywhere. If you choose to listen to it, the world is coming to an end. Well, it is coming to an end as the way we knew it, but it's not coming to an end. There is talk about recession. There is talk about inflation. There is talk about lack of. There is all that stuff going on. But she pointed out, and she's a very heart-centric entrepreneur, now is a great opportunity to start a business, to find the problems that people have that they don't want, come up with a solution, put together a collaborative group of people to solve the problem, and make the world a better place instead of wallowing in despair and hoping like you're going to survive this and it's going to go away. It's going to be what it is going to be. How do we respond to it is the most important thing. And we don't stop living. We just need to start living in a different way and a different level of consciousness, looking for the possibilities as opposed to the impossibilities, right? That's my thought of what I heard, and her and other people's that are successful in a measurable sort of big outlandish way, that if they're saying that, then it must be true. Like, I'm going to take another Harv Eker quote: where thoughts go, energy flows and results show. So if we don't want to have a lousy life, stop thinking about having a lousy life. Jim Rohn said, if you want to earn more, learn more, become more valuable. People will pay you for the value we bring.
Okay, so I didn't have time to write down all the thoughts go, energy go. Say that again.
Where thoughts go, energy flows and results show.
Flows.
T. Harv Eker is the man with that. I want to give you guys a plug too, because you guys are awesome. I'm going to start with Michael, because he's on my next screenshot here. This is Michael. How do I get Michael on the side? Let's try that. I think I do this. There we are. So there's Michael. I'm going to bring up his actual URL so you can read it. But this is kind of what you would see once you get to Michael's spot. There he is right there. MichaelRoachCreative.com. That's where you can find him. And if you can't read it, he's got a blog. He's got a resource library. Contact him. Samples of his work. Let me see what that shows. I haven't even looked at that part today. Click on that one. Nothing happened. What happened? I broke it. But look what he does. He works on content, which he talked about today, branding and design. And I've had an opportunity to talk to him, and he is, oh, there we go. My internet was just slow.
Right.
There's some of the stuff he does, right? Website, animated explainer videos, website, large scale concrete construction company. That's pretty cool looking stuff.
Thank you.
So that's where you can get hold of him, MichaelRoachCreative.com. Now I'm going to bring up my other buddy. And here we go. Watch this. It's magic.
Yay.
It's magical. And, oh, I forgot to make the, no, I did that right. Mike Worth.
Right.
I forgot the C. Forgot to make the C, consulting C bigger.
It all goes to the same place.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I'm
same
OCD.
Place. Yes. Our claim to fame on this, actually, Michael, you'll love this part, is if you go to our portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is I was trying to figure out what's our portfolio as a business practice. Mm-hmm. And our portfolio are the lives of the people that we've built. So we put up stories, and we asked everyone how, because that's what I build as a prosperity business plan. And how did prosperity as a mindset build them the fortunes that they have? So that's our jam there.
Nice.
Yeah. And we're revamping. So this time in just another, I think we'll be done in October, but you'll have a whole new site in just a few months.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Because people forget branding takes some time.
It does.
Yeah. Yes. It's not just a snap the fingers and it's done.
It takes some time.
It takes some time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, an hour went by like that.
I know. It's so fast. It's like on Nitro.
Right. I'll be going back to Minnesota.
Are you happy about that?
I love Minnesota.
Then you'll be
I
happy
love
about
it here. I'm not here all the time, but I am here, at least
Some
half
of the time. Cool.
I'll be in the Carolinas this year for my trip. So
Nice.
yes, I'm doing a tour. So I'm starting in Minnesota. We're going to Ohio, Indiana, coming back up U-shaping North and South Carolina. So
That's
I'll be
fabulous.
traveling for 5 weeks.
Very cool.
Yeah. So if I'm not going to make it to Albany.
Okay.
So I
Maybe
have to
next
do
time.
Right.
And
But when I was in Maine, I should have jumped over it. But
so what I wanted to do here is I normally wait until I get you at the audience or not the guests off, but because you two are truly wonderful, I wanted to share this moment with you as well as whoever's watching this now or later. And the you in wonderful represents each one of us individually. We're unique and we are wonderful. So continue being your wonderful self. I want to thank you guys for being on the show today, sharing your wisdom and adding to the narrative and letting other people know what you know. Well, some of what you know. Can't tell you everything we know in 60 minutes or so, but I truly do appreciate you guys for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye. It's a pleasure
Thanks for
talking with
having
you.
us.
We'll see you in a bit.
All right.
Wasn't that fun? Well, I had fun for sure. I can't speak for everybody who's watching this now or later, but if you do have a question for a business coach, or if you want to take the business growth score, by all means do that. I'm going to now end the show just on a high because wow, that was brilliant. So here we go, ending the show, and we'll see you all next time on another episode on the Business Renovator.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking